guys, and welcome back to KTV Network. Today I'm reacting to why WB Games deserve their failure. Let's see what Dumbsville has to say. Let's watch. I'm coming across some really interesting names like Dumbsville, Mug Thief. Okay. My apparently browser is having a moment.
Studio of the Year.
And the winner is Rocksteady Studios.
Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor.
Special thanks to everyone at Eidos and Warner Brothers who believed in us early on when a lot of people...
I heard myself.
Nah, dude, put the nostalgia bait away. They've always been like this.
Has he always been like this?
Nice of you to say, but you of all people should know there's plenty wrong with you.
WB Games might be one of the most embarrassing and awful publishers of all time. Now, Warner Bros. Gets a lot of flack by a lot of the community, and justifiably so, because they're awful. But I want to focus on their biggest fumbled bag, their video games division. It's really sad, too, because WB Games had a lot of potential just a few years ago. But
really
with that, they
did.
also
Like
love
this.
shitting in their own mouths, apparently.
Ew.
Out of all the shitty, greedy publishers out there,
Like, you
WB
really had to show that. You really did. I agree, though, especially with Hogwarts Legacy. They've had some wins recently.
pisses me off the most, arguably, because they could be great, and they're not, and they hate you. So today I'm going through the many sins of WB Games and why they suck. So you better buckle up and get depressed, because we're not getting that Wonder Woman game. Problem 1, predatory practice.
I would argue and say that's probably a good thing because perhaps the game was woke. And you know, there is a place for woke games. Woke games does have its niche, but when it comes to games like Wonder Woman, it's not the way to go. So perhaps writing the game off was a good thing. Sadly. They probably saw the direction it was going and said, you know what,
Or
never
more
mind.
accurately, anti-consumer. When it comes to their business practices, WB Games is Greed Incorporated. If they can make an extra dollar, they'll take it. Take, for example, their console-exclusive content. Do you want to play as the Joker in Batman Arkham Asylum? Well, you can't unless you buy the game on PS3 or
I
the
did.
Mac for some
I
reason. How about
did,
the
and
Adam
it was
West
so much
skin or
fun.
the Nightfall skin in Batman Arkham Origins? Well,
No.
once again, you can't have any of those unless you buy the game on PS3. This happened again for Batman Arkham Knight. Oh, what's that? You want the Adam West skin again? You want the Justice League of 3000
looks
skin?
nice.
You want the Scarecrow Nightmare missions? Well, guess what, fucko? Buy the game on PS4 or die.
It's crazy how PS4 used to be such a revered system, and now it's become the butt of a joke. Like, it really, I guess, can't handle certain games. That's crazy to even think about.
Except some of those skins did actually come to PC on the Epic Games Store. Now, if you think that's bad, don't worry, because it only gets worse. As both the Shadow of Mordor and a Hogwarts Legacy included entire quest lines that were just locked behind PlayStation. Now, a lot of these thankfully were timed, but not all of it, though. The Scarecrow Missions Pack from Arkham Knight is still locked to the PS4, which is so anti-preservation it hurts. But don't worry, it gets worse, as they would lock certain content behind where you bought the game from. For example, when Arkham City was coming out, if you wanted the Joker's Carnival Challenge map, you had to pre-order the game from GameStop. However, if you wanted to play as Robin, you had to sacrifice the Joker's Carnival Challenge map and pre-order the game from Best Buy instead. Now that's pretty bad. Arkham Knight made it worse somehow, though. Or this time, if
The Arkham Knight missions were great, but I would argue that Red Hood's was short. And Red Hood is one of my favorite characters, the one with Catwoman, Poison Ivy. The Joker used to be my favorite, but he's everyone's favorite now, right? So many good ones.
If you wanted the Batmobile prototype, you had to pre-order the game from Walmart. However, if you wanted access to the Red Hood story pack, you had to pre-order the game from GameStop. Why not just give me all the fucking content when I pre-order the goddamn game? Except not even that is guaranteed. Because some content is locked behind WBID. What is it? I have no fucking
idea.
clue, but it's shut down now. So the exclusive skins you got through WBID are just unobtainable now. I think the funniest one, though, has to be the Catwoman Arkham City DLC.
Oh,
now,
that was a
everything else
great
is
one.
side
That was
content up to
great.
this
Loved
point.
it.
I gotta smell some GameStop employee to play as Red Hood. Okay, whatever. But Catwoman
Loved
in
Red
Batman
Hood's gun.
Arkham City is not side content. She is a part of the main game. You play as her in the
Yes, you could choose to help him or walk away.
story. You can go through the open world as her. She has Riddler trophies that are exclusive to her. However, in order to actually access her part of the game, you had to download her DLC, which came on a little voucher inside of the game's box for new copies. However, if that voucher was redeemed at all, or if you just lost the voucher, you wouldn't have been able to play what is ostensibly a main part of the game. That is, of course, unless you paid $10 extra, or waited for the Game of the Year edition to come out, I
might just
guess.
play
Yeah,
as her
just
then.
buy
That
the
was so
whole
much
fucking
fun.
game again. Be thankful you
That was
even
so
got
much
a
fun.
re-release at all, you dipshit.
Just to
I think
play
the
as
most
Catwoman.
insulting, though, has to be the Nemesis system. A really awesome system Shadow of Mordor introduced, which was only
I heard about this, and I heard it was made exclusive, or it was shut down, and they will never, no other game will ever touch it again. I'd agreed. That's crazy.
used for the Shadow of Mordor games and nothing else, and will never be used for anything else because a couple years ago, Warner Bros. Patented it. So no other developers can ever use
I wonder if there's a developer out there that can somewhat recreate it and retro-engineer it without being served.
it again, and Warner Bros. Can keep sitting on it. Imagine making one of the most innovative systems in a game and just never using it again. And then never allowing anyone else to use it. Because you have the business sense of a greedy 7-year-old. What an
It's that short-sighted energy. They could have monetized it. They could have sold it, right? To and kind of, they could have claimed. What am I trying to say here? They could have claimed it somehow, and whoever wants to use it can buy it for a limited time, you know, or something like that. I don't know, something to that effect. You know, y'all know. What I mean.
absolute joke of a company. Problem 2, manipulating reviews. Now, when you make something, it's important to be legally honest and earn a fan base. For some reason, though, WB struggles with this bare minimum shit. In fact, they've almost gotten in legal trouble over it. Exhibit A, Back for Blood, which I don't have footage for because fuck this game. This game was faced with a lot of problems leading up to release, and pretty much
Sometimes I don't have the lexicon to adequately explain myself eloquently, but the idea is there.
all of that was Warner Brothers' fault, as they would ban people for not only data mining the game, but also creating mods for it. Mods for a game that is a spiritual sequel to Left 4
Not
Dead, and
SpongeBob.
games that are known for their modding communities.
The files for Back 4 Blood were open to anyone and run on a standard version of Unreal Engine, a very easy engine to open and see the assets from. As a games as a service platform, like Back 4 Blood is positioned to be, if a pattern of banning people excited enough to get into your game and look for what's next becomes a common practice, WB will be silencing a major source of free advertising for their game. This could be explained away as the publisher not wanting to have content of the game spoiled. However, they also started kicking people that somehow, in the short window of time, was creating custom content for Back 4 Blood. A user on Reddit showed off their ability to launch into a custom map and was banned from the community. WB, if you want your game to succeed, you need to allow these communities to do what they want. It is nothing but free advertisement for your game, and if something juicy enough is found, every major press outlet will report on those findings, which is just more free advertising.
Now that's already extremely short-sighted and really bad, but nothing, and I mean nothing, will compare to Shadow of Mordor. So back when that game was coming out, WB paid influencers to promote the game, which, okay, that's fine, except they wouldn't actually give you the pre-release code unless you adhere to their guidelines, which, okay, as a YouTuber, that makes sense to me. The problem, however, is what the guidelines actually were. These weren't small minute-long segments either, like in one of my videos, for example. No, these are people like the late Total Biscuit, people who review video games, trying to get a day one copy of Shadow of Mordor so they can review it for their job, and being told no, not unless you follow our guidelines.
It was Total Biscuit who blew the whistle on a significantly dodgy area of Mordor's brand deal, revealing that it was almost impossible to get pre-release PC code without letting the game sponsor you and control what you say about the game. TB managed to finagle a code only after pulling some massive strings. Rock Paper Shotgun didn't get one at all.
Huh, okay, well, what kind of rules were they? Extremely weird ones, that's your answer.
Well, with a little digging, I got to see what was in one of those Shadow of Mordor brand deal contracts, and I figured it'd be nice to share those details with you so you know exactly what goes into a video game brand deal. Here are some excerpts from the contract. Videos will promote positive sentiment about the game. Videos must not show bugs or glitches that may exist. Video must include discussion of the story of the game. Here's the interesting bit. Do not mention Lord of the Rings or Hobbit, movies, characters, or
Why would you
books.
do that?
Don't mention Lord of the Rings in a review of a...
I need that sound effect because I'm always saying, huh? Like, what's wrong?
Lord of the Rings game.
I'm always
Imagine
saying
if you were
that.
making
I
a
need that
Batman
sound effect.
Arkham Knight video, but you weren't
And I have a soundboard I hardly utilize, which I probably should get back to. Probably.
allowed to mention Batman in it. Don't talk about bugs or glitches. In fact, don't review the game at all. Furthermore, WB told people not to disclose if these were sponsored videos, which is incredibly shady. So shady, in fact, that the FTC took notice and filed a whole-ass complaint against them. Now, the two did settle, and all WB really got was a slap on the wrist, but still, that's one big close call. Now, supposedly, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League also had something similar to all this, where very early negative Steam reviews were being masked.
This game had so much potential. And you know, if they hadn't disrespected a character that so many people loved, it could have done well. I believe it could have done well if they had stayed true to Harley Quinn's look, if they had, because they actually made her somewhat pretty, you know, just they fucked it up with makeup. And if they actually spent more time on graphics, and as well as gameplay, apparently, because it didn't do as well as it also failed as much as what Gotham Knights was a very repetitive game system. I modded that fucking game. Excuse me for cursing. I had to mod that game to enjoy the experience, and at the end of modding, I was just like over it. I was over it. Especially the gliding system really sucked. The amount of enemies just wasn't worth the amount of combos that we were given, which wasn't very much. They would just overpower you a lot, very often.
Deleted by them, but I couldn't actually find any evidence of this. With that being said, knowing WB's history, would you be surprised if they did? Problem
Speaking
3,
of,
ruining games. Mostly, but not always, by trend chasing. If there's
spin-offs.
one thing that WB is afraid of, it's making a good game. And this isn't new behavior either. No, this is a long-term thing. But first, let's go all the way back to 2009. Now, up until this point, Warner...
Because you have people making short-sighted decisions. These people aren't meant for the industry.
Bros has all been licensed games, and I mean they still
I
are.
don't even
But
know there was a Friends game
Arkham
that was
City
a
or
Friends
Friends the video game. Their most
That doesn't surprise me.
high-profile release in their first 4 years is a Lego Batman the video game. That is until February 2009 with the release of Fear 2, the sequel to Monolith's amazing first-person shooter Fear, an awesome, visually impressive game with amazing AI. These guys would call for backup, flank you, and flush you with grenades and shit. Oh, and the slow-mo bullet time shit. Oh my
love bullet
god,
time.
this game is
That
legitimately
looks like fun.
unhinged, and I love it. Fear wasn't just a graphically groundbreaking game, but also a really fun one. Unfortunately, Fear 2 is not a good game.
Or like free pizza at an anime convention.
The mechanics and level design have both been cottonized. The combat is worse
Yeah,
and way
it
more
looks like Call of
shallow.
Duty.
And visually, I don't think it looks bad, but it is downgraded.
That's what happens when you try to follow a successful game and follow to its footsteps instead of focusing on what made the game really special.
The first game had that dog in it. Fear 2 doesn't. And Fear 1
Yeah, it had
you
that explosive effect as opposed to like that explosive bullet time effect as opposed to
shot a
what it
wall,
became.
smoke would fly everywhere, and you would just leave these craters behind. And then there was Fear 2.
Yeah.
Fear 2 was a game downgraded for consoles. No doubt, there was a massive we want the COD audience mindset here, which is why Fear 2 fucking sucks. What's really funny, though, is that 2 years later, they did it again? Now, 2011's for 3R was not developed by Monolith, Or rather, WB gave the game to some fucking guy. Now with Fear 3, there was an attempt to make a better game, but it's very clear that not only was there still an executive make this Call of Duty kind of thing going on, but Warner Bros. Also wanted co-op added to the game, leading to a game that tries to be better, but is still underwhelming and now really unbalanced. What's even funnier is that 3 years later, Warner Brothers would ruin Fear again. This all led to Fear Online, a free-to-play shooter made for nobody, and as a result, nobody played it and the game shut down. Now, meanwhile, what happened to Monolith, the guys who made Fear 1 and 2? Well, in 2012, they dropped a Batman-themed multiplayer first-person shooter, a game that eventually went free-to-play, but was overall made for nobody. And as a result, nobody played it and the game shut down. Also in 2012, they dropped the Guardians of Middle-earth, a Lord of the Rings-themed MOBA that wasn't very good and wasn't really made for anybody. And as a result, nobody played it and the game shut down. Wow, it's almost like forcing multiplayer components into your games and forcing your studios to make multiplayer games might in fact be a bad idea. So of course Warner Brothers tries again by forcing a multiplayer mode into Batman Arkham Origins. Naturally, the
That looked like it could have been something, but I'm guessing it didn't. I'm guessing it wasn't.
Batman Arkham Origins competitive multiplayer appealed to nobody, and as a result, nobody played it and the game shut down. With that being said, though, fans have modded it back online, and I'm gonna be honest, it's a kind of fun. He's below.
Bring him over. Bring him to me alive. I want to break his spine with my cock.
If you're one of the goons, you gotta be careful of both the enemy goons and Batman and Robin. So both your horizontals and your verticals are both at a risk.
Oh,
I love
shit!
you, Batman. Thank you. I love you, Batman. I love you, Batman.
That's actually scary. Holy fuck.
Oh.
You just see Batman just come out of fucking nowhere and just kidnap somebody.
That's what B-Fox 15 does. I mean, what?
During the match, you can also get a super villain, which is a character who breaks the whole fucking game.
Oh my god, Batman got fucked up. Oh my god. He just killed the fucking Batman. Oh shit. Oh shit! With it being in a fucking rocket launcher.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
The catcher in the rye and all that shit.
Me.
What up, dog? I'm coming.
No.
I'm coming. Okay. Meanwhile, if you're Batman, it's an Arkham stealth section, but now the enemies are humans. So you gotta be really on your toes and unpredictable. It's really fun. But it's still pretty clear this was an afterthought, especially when there's only 2 modes in this thing. Again, what a shock. The Arkham Origins multiplayer didn't appeal to anyone, except for maybe me.
No. Guys, where's your top?
Hey, don't fight me!
By the way, fun fact, WB execs wanted co-op in Batman Arkham Knight.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Okay, well, not actually. Rocksteady just said they didn't want multiplayer in Arkham Knight, and that's where the whole dual play system comes from, but it's worded really weirdly, like, why even bring up multiplayer at all? Admittedly, I am just speculating, but it's also a very educated speculation. Now, you might be thinking, wow, after all these failures, certainly they learned their lesson. Middle-earth: The Shadow of War had loot boxes in it. Yes, the single-player action-adventure sequel to Middle-earth: The Shadow of Mordor included a fucking Overwatch-styled loot box system at launch. This made the second half of the game much more grindy to incentivize loot box buying, only to then remove the entire system a year later because, oh my god, nobody was buying the loot boxes in our single-player fucking game. More recently, WB Games Montreal, the guys behind Batman Arkham Origins, spent nearly 10 years on a new project. That project was going to be a Batman Arkham Knight sequel starring Damian Wayne. The game supposedly also had the Nemesis system from the Shadow of Mordor games in it, which sounds absolutely sick, and it's a shame the game never came out, because instead we got a Gotham Knights, a co-op based game with a horrible combat system and terrible repetitive gameplay. It's yet another game that absolutely nobody wanted. The biggest
But it had potential. It could have been something. Red Hood was one of my favorite characters, and when I found out his character is super clunky, that really disappointed me, because the gunshots weren't fast enough. I had to mod his character as well. It was very, very disappointing.
shock about Gotham Knights, though, is that it isn't a live service game. It's just a really dog shit single player one that has live service elements for some reason. What is live service, though, is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. This game took Rocksteady, the developers of the previous Batman games, 8 years to make, and yet, in spite of this, it's a multiplayer game made by a single player studio that nobody wanted.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. It's not right. It's not fair, bro.
And on top of that, the the game itself is like a traumatic experience to go through. I got the game for free on the Epic Game Store, and I still want my money back. It's that bad. Case in point, my friend who also got the game for free chose to play it with me, because, you know, friends don't let friends suffer alone. Only for the game to not only make us play with the two King Sharks for no reason, even though I was a Harley and he was Deadshot, but also eventually the game just gave up and gave me two Peacemakers.
Donnell, where's he at?
Outside of that, though, the game is fucking boring. And my friends who I accidentally recorded during this were very easily, arguably, more entertaining than the game itself.
Harley Quinn.
Oh, thank God, my God, my vagina, oh my God.
What?
You just got hashtag gamer owned, Grant. How do you feel about that?
Killer cock.
The diddler?
You wanna know what they call the Flash?
What?
The.
That's not stimming, that's homosexuality, excuse me?
No.
Who just...
Yeah, so tell me why, and this isn't a race thing or anything, but tell me why those, the race that can be completely fruity and get away with it are the whites, and I'm assuming these guys are white. I'm assuming. I could be wrong. But don't come for me. They can be as fruity as they want to be. They can be as fruity as they want to be, and no one will question anything.
Just jerking off. What the fuck was that?
What? Even more recently, Harry Potter Quidditch Champions dropped, another live service game. I bet you never heard of it. Me neither. And as a result, the game bombed. Oh my god, who could have guessed? What's even funnier, though, is that when WB does strike gold in the live service multiplayer slot market, they still somehow manage to fuck it up. The previously mentioned Back 4 Blood was actually successful at launch, but then content stopped happening and the game stopped getting supported and the player count then bled out, with its last major update being around 3 years ago. Then there was Multiverses, a game that launched, then unlaunched, then tried to gaslight everyone to thinking it was an open beta, and then it relaunched, and then died. Then WB shut down the studio 8 months after buying them. Is this company run by fucking monkeys? As you can tell, thanks to all this trend chasing, they have completely ruined a lot of their games. In fact, it's a miracle if any one of their games nowadays isn't a piece of dog shit. Oh, and before I forget, Monolith is dead now. Yeah, they were making a Wonder Woman game, and then WB shut them down. If I were to guess, it's because the game didn't have a co-op in it. Man, we ain't never getting a good game again, are we? The most documented example, though, has to be the Mad Max game. The one made by Avalanche, but not the one that WB owns. No, but rather the Just Cause guys. Yeah, that one. That game, which by the way is pretty good and underrated, was apparently a nightmare due to WB Games, who wanted the game originally to be a linear game, despite the fact they hired an open world studio to make it, only to then mid-development change their mind, because of course open world games were popular at the time. Never mind the fact you'd have to completely redo the whole game essentially.
That's a very good game. It's a game I probably have to get back to. It's just the fact that I don't like I said before, if it comes to GTA and Saints Row, I don't like Brotherhood turf games because of the grinding, the amount of grinding that you have to do in these games to get a stronghold. I'm good. That's very boring. But I know that this is a very, very fun and underrated game, and it looks very good for an early PS4 game.
That Mad Max is actually pretty good is nothing short of a miracle. However, yes. WB then released the game the same day as Hideo Kojima's Metal Gear Solid 5, meaning the game underperformed because people were buying Metal Gear Solid 5 instead. Mad McMuscles made a great video on this game's development, so if you want to learn more, check it out. I also recommend Jason Schreier's Bloomberg articles, which also go much more in depth on WB's mismanagement. But I think you get it by now. WB is trend chasing and it hurts their own game. It's like the people running the division didn't play video games, and for 15 years continued not to play video games. And at this point, I don't think any executive they hire ever will play video games. And before someone says maybe things will get better, they won't, because just a few weeks ago, Game of Thrones: The King's Road came out, an action-adventure RPG made for mobile devices. I wonder if the game will appeal to no one and shut down inevitably. It also dropped on Steam and my friend to play the demo, but I didn't because I'm not wasting my time on this dog shit. So I had my friend write an absolute epic, amazing long section, so here we go.
And people were so excited.
What if the new Assassin's Creed...
People were so excited to play Game of Thrones until they realized that it was a mobile game. And also, Valhalla was great. A lot of grinding, but great.
Free games were somehow even worse.
Problem 4.
Still waiting on Game of Thrones Season 2. for Telltale that I doubt that that's even gonna come out.
Warner Brothers hates preservation. Warner Brothers do not view their games as art. They will let their history rot and sometimes even straight up delete it. There are countless examples of Warner Brothers just doing nothing with their older titles. The only exceptions are Lego Harry Potter, which, yeah, and the Batman Arkham games, whose ports are embarrassing. The Batman Return to Arkham collection, I fucking hate it. These dark, gritty, gothic, macabre games are suddenly given that GTA wet road mod sheen. A lot of the techniques Rocksteady used to hide imperfections are just laid bare in this version, and worst of all, they run horribly. These are Xbox 360 titles, and they run at 30 FPS on next-gen hardware.
Yikes.
That is, however, unless you play the game on the Xbox One X or beyond, where Arkham Asylum runs at 45 FPS. But at least
30 to 45 FPS is so slow. You can't even play Pokemon on 30 FPS. That is slow and laggy.
It's
Terrible.
slightly better than the Batman Arkham trilogy for Switch, which I haven't played it myself, nor do I want to, because it's apparently a disaster. But at least these games got ports, all while leaving out a Batman Arkham Origins,
Nintendo
which by
Switch
the
2
way
will
is
be
backwards
better.
compatible, but only physically on the Xbox Series X and shit. What isn't, though, is the Cold Heart DLC, which is now unobtainable on console.
Cool, hot. So they're inspired by Elton John right there.
Same for Mad Max's DLC, which is also now unobtainable. Speaking of which, the game was also incompletable for a while. A couple of side missions required online server connectivity, but because those servers are now shut down, the game is impossible to 100% complete. Except for on PC, where there is a mod to work around this issue. If you're on console, though, fuck you. Also, fuck you for all 7 Lord of the Rings War in the North fans out there. A game that WBD listed for no reason. It's not a good game, but it's art nonetheless. It's a better fate than Mortal Kombat, though, as most of those games you straight up just can't even play on modern hardware anymore. Your choices, I kid you not, are either old PC versions on GOG, and that's only if you want to play Mortal Kombat 1 through 4, or the arcade 1-up Mortal Kombat.
This is why people are doing piracy. Not me, because I'm a law-abiding citizen. But ooh, I might buy one of those arcade games and play them. Put them where though? Put them where? Probably remove this. And put the art, like a little tiny mini arcade right there. One day.
Combat machines, which is really only good for Mortal Kombat 1 through 3.
Because I miss those arcade games from movies. Like, they're so...
+3, which I'm told
Such a
consists of
nostalgic
old
time.
DOS releases from the 90s, which lack controller support
And it would have to be something I played, like Tekken or Mortal Kombat. Maybe Tekken.
and naturally, any online functionality. And I can't
something
imagine
with a
MK
gun.
Trilogy on GOG is much better. So your options are...
That Walking Dead game. I forgot what it's called. Rise of the Dead? That's what I would put here. That's what I would put
A
here.
decade-old Xbox 360 port that isn't backwards compatible, old 90s PC ports, or a $5,000 arcade machine you don't have the space for.
Meanwhile, if you want to play Deadly Alliance or Deception or Armageddon, you're completely out of luck. Meanwhile, if you want to play MK9 or Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe, you can either buy a physical Xbox copy and play it on your Series X because they're not available digitally anymore, or you can go fuck yourself. That's of course not without mentioning every other Midway franchise they own, which they have not done anything with aside from Mortal Kombat. They own Spy Hunter. They've done nothing with Spy Hunter. They own Gauntlet. They made like one game in 2014 and nothing else. They own Narc, which they've done nothing with Narc. They own Psyops, the Mindgate Conspiracy. They've done
so
nothing
many
with
games that
Psyops,
they
the
are-
Mindgate Conspiracy.
And
They
that
own
looks like a fun game. They're sitting on so many games.
Area 51. In that game, the moon landing was fake. They own Wheelman, so they're just sitting on trillions of dollars with that one. They own The Suffering, put both games on GOG, and then recently delisted them. Because fuck you, we hate you. You don't get these games. You don't get to play them. On that note, they also own Stranglehold, which was also dumped onto GOG and is still available, thankfully. I'm not sure for how much longer, though. And that's all I really ask. Just put the games on the GOG or something. Preserve them. Further insulting is Monolith's IPs that they made. The big one, obviously, is Fear, one of the most influential FPS games ever made. Sadly, the studio is shut down now and the franchise has been left to rot. If there was a point where you couldn't even buy the games individually and had to buy a $60 complete pack to play them, this has thankfully since been fixed, but still, it shows the lack of respect WB has for their own IPs. The most insulting one, though, is No One Lives Forever, a franchise that Night Dive, a really great remastering studio, wants to remaster. However, nobody knows who actually owns No One Lives Forever, and Warner Bros. Have been weirdly hostile and aggressively uncooperative in finding out who actually owns them. And I have to ask, why? What does any of this accomplish? What does delisting the suffering accomplish? What does not cooperating on the preservation of Nulf accomplish? What does not relisting MK9 accomplish? What does making Cold Heart unavailable accomplish? If WB has an answer for any one of these questions, I would love to laugh at the conclusion. WB Games fucking sucks. And that itself sucks because honestly, I don't want to hate them. The Batman Arkham games made up my childhood. Same for the Lego games, if you couldn't tell. I love Shadow of Mordor
I have that audio sound effect, that soundboard. I gotta connect it.
and Shadow of War. The Mad Max game was loads of fun. Hogwarts Legacy has its fans, and so does Mortal Kombat, I guess. The further we go down, though, the worse Warner Brothers gets. And
I wonder if Hogwarts Legacy is going to change its rating. I think it's gonna stay at teen. I think it's going to. But I would wonder if it does change. Did it change later on? Did Hogwarts ever become, did Harry Potter ever become rated R at some point? No.
Corporate greed leads to projects that aren't made for anybody and don't appeal to anybody. Which is weird because when they don't fuck up, they make very successful, amazing games. And that's on top of just baffling studio closures and layoffs. My point is that WB games could be way better, but they are incompetent and greedy. They have no respect or clue for what their fans want. So when they say they want to get better by focusing on 4 franchises right after shutting down Monolith, yeah, no, I don't believe them. I hate to say it, but they kind of deserve their failure at this point and refuse to listen even when they're bleeding money. Anyways, my point is, Wheelman Remastered will save the company. Okay, are they gone now? Okay, awesome. Alrighty, welcome to...
Okay, great. That's... I see what you did there. I see what you did there. That's a great bait and switch right there. But, yeah, you know, I gave my general thoughts about this video. It is what it is. We'll see what they do in the future. Hello. Music. The heck happened to my music? Okay, and anyway, never mind. But yeah, let me know what you think about this video down in the comments below. Let me know what other gaming videos you want me to react to. Like and subscribe if you vibe. You can be today, and I will see you guys in the live streams. Take care. Bye.